Okay, now we're done with the demand side of the market and the supply side of the market. Let's put demand and supply together. You know the purpose of the market is to bring buyers and sellers together. Let's use the same example. So in this figure, we bring together the market demand curve for the tablet computers and the market supply curve. Notice that the demand curve crosses the supply curve at only one point. This point represents a price of 500 and a quantity of 5 million tablets computers per month. So only at this point is the quantity of tablet computers consumers are willing and able to buy equals the quantity of tablets firms are willing and able to sell. So this is a point of market equilibrium. We call this point market equilibrium. Only at the market equilibrium will the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. So in this case, the equilibrium price is 500 and the equilibrium quantity is 5 million. Any market that is not in equilibrium moves toward equilibrium. Once a market is in equilibrium, it remains in equilibrium. To see why, consider what happens if a market is not in equilibrium. For example, suppose that the price in this tablet computers market was $600 rather than the equilibrium price of $500. So as this figure shows, at a price of $600, a quantity of tablets supplied would be 6 million, and the quantity of tablets demanded would be 4 million. When the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded, we say there is a surplus of the 2 million tablets here. So when there is a surplus, the firms have so many unsold products piling up, and which give them an incentive to increase their sales by cutting the price. So cutting the price will simultaneously increase the quantity demanded and decrease the quantity supplied. Go this way. Supplied. So this adjustment will reduce the surplus. But as long as the price is above the $500, there will be a surplus, and the downward pressure on the price will continue. Only when the price has fallen to the $500, the market will be in the equilibrium. However, if the price were $300, the quantity demanded would be here at 7 million, and the quantity supplied would be 3 million, as shown in the figure. So when the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied, we call there is a shortage. There is no enough. There is a shortage in the market. So in this case, the shortage is equal to 4 million tablets computers. When a shortage occurs, some consumers will be unable to buy tablet computers at the current price at the $300. Some consumers couldn't get it. So the consumers will bid up the price. They are willing to pay higher price for the tablet computers. Then the firms will realize, that they can raise the price without losing any sales. So that adjustment will reduce the shortage. But as long as the price is below $500, there will be a shortage, and the upward pressure on the price will continue. Only when the price has risen to the $500, then the market will be in the equilibrium again. You know, in the previous classes, we learned there are many variables, or we say factors, affect demand, such as income, price of related products, taste, preference, population, you know, those kind of reasons which change their demand, right? There are also some factors or variables that are going to affect your demand curve. So we want to know how those changes in the demand or supply, you know, affect the equilibrium point, equilibrium situations. Let's first check the effect of shifts in supply on equilibrium. Okay, for example, in this tablet computer market, when the Toshiba enters the market for tablet computers by introducing the Thrive, so there are more firms on the market to supply stuff, so the market supply curve for tablet computers will increase. How do we show the increase in supply? Supply curve shifted to the right from S1 to S2. So you can see the result. When the supply increase, we get the new equilibrium price now. The original one is the price 1, and then now we get the new equilibrium price at price 2. So price decreased, and we get the new quantities. So the quantity increased from Q1 to Q2. On the other hand, if there is a decrease of the supply, let's say some firms, you know, because of competition, some firms leave the market, exit the market, and then supply will decrease. Supply curve is gonna move to the left. When supply move to the left, as you can imagine here, the price is gonna go up and the quantity demanded will fall, will decrease. So how about the effect of shifts in demand on equilibrium? Okay, let's say people get more money, and means they have more income, so their demand for tablet computers go up. Okay, there is increase in demand. The whole demand curve gonna shift to the right, so there is increase in demand. Let's see what's the result if the supply keeps the same. So now price goes up and the quantity goes up as well. So both price and quantity goes up, and we get the new equilibrium point. Please check these two graphs out. So whether the price of the product rises or falls over time depends on whether demand shifts to the right more than the supply curve does. In order to understand the interaction of the demand and supply forces, let's check an example here. So the question is, during a typical spring, when demand for lobster is relatively low, remember demand for lobster is relatively low, okay? The lobstermen can typically sell the lobster catches for about $6 per pound. Well, during the summer, if you go to the men, right? When the demand for the lobster is much higher, the lobstermen are typically sell their lobster catches for only about $3 per pound. Okay, so it may seem strange that the market price is higher when the demand is low than when demand is high. So please resolve this paradox with the help of demand and supply graph. Okay, so let's draw the demand and the supply curve showing the market equilibrium in the spring. So let's say the demand in spring and the supply in spring, and the equilibrium price is $6 here. And now, the demand curve for the summer is much higher than demand in spring. Then let's bring in the supply curve for the summer, supply in summer. So you can tell the difference, why the price is much higher in the spring when the demand is low, and the price is much lower in summer when the demand is high. So once we end in the supply curve, this explains everything, right? Because the supply in summer is much higher or more than the supply in spring. Okay, so again, whether the price of the product rises or falls over time depends on whether the demand shifts to the right more than supply. So here, demand shifts to the right is less than supply, so the price is actually fall. Okay, when you're done with this short video, please try the quiz and let me know. Send me email. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. See you on Thursday.